first of all, I felt like my adopted family had lied to me. I felt like, that I had that, how you see kids put something on somebody's back, this, kick me sticker or whatever. I felt like I had that sign on my back, and everybody in my family knew that I was adopted, but I didn't know.
Willie D. Live.
Now, you might be a hater, I don't know. But I'm just saying, you don't sound like hate, And I think that's important for us to come together. We have to be able to have civilized discussions. Mm-hmm. Whether you and I agree or not, it doesn't matter whether you or I like each other or not. What's important is that we respect one another.
That's right.
Because we share this space no matter what. Like I was saying earlier, we're all trying to get there.
That's right.
And nobody's not trying to get there. Nobody's going to give up their spot to get there. Mm-hmm. So in order for us to actually make any type of progress, it starts with a conversation.
That's right.
Everything, it starts with a conversation. And this is why I don't talk to everybody. I wanted to have a conversation with you because in my mind, you were the type of person that I thought that would try to get an understanding, like
right.
a reasonable person who's trying to get an understanding and at least want to do the right thing. Some people, it's not even worth talking to because
right.
It's like talking to a brick wall. You're not going to ever get an understanding. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's just a waste of time. I heard you talk about earlier that you were adopted. You found out that you were adopted at the age of what?
12, 13, around there.
12, 13. Who raised you?
My adopted mom and dad raised me initially, and then around that same age, my mom and dad separated. And so basically my mom, but she passed away in 2012. And then my adopted dad passed away when I was, I guess, like 15 or 16.
When you say your mom, your adopted mom,
mm-hmm.
and then your adopted dad passed away when?
He passed away when I was about 15 or 16.
Yeah.
So
when they passed away, when your adopted dad passed away last, right?
Mm-hmm. So, no, my adopted
first,
mom.
Your adopted dad passed away first, then your adopted mom passed away. So at that point, what kind of relationship did you have with your adopted mother and father?
My adopted father was not good. He was alcoholic. He was involved in a lot of stuff. This is a really crazy story. I don't know if you want to get into all that, but
I do.
So I was given up for adoption when I was little, like 2 years old, 1 year old, 2 years old. Well, so I didn't find out I was adopted till I was 13. Then my adopted dad passed away when I was about 16. And then my adopted mom passed away in 2012, about, 12, 13 years ago. And, I had a lot of questions when I was 13. Like, it wounded me as a young man. I didn't understand that, first of all, I felt like my adopted family had lied to me. I felt like, that I had that, how you see kids put something on somebody's back, this, kick me sticker or whatever. I felt like I had that sign on my back, and everybody in my family knew that I was adopted, but I didn't know. And I felt like the fool or the idiot in the room, that everybody else knew something about me that I didn't even know. And I felt like they had lied to me and deceived me about that. And so I felt betrayed from that aspect. And then, so I was wounded by that, but then, so I asked mom, and then on the other hand, my biological mom, I was like, what is so wrong with me that my own mom didn't even want me, that she could throw me? I felt like, and this was something that I heard in my head, like, how could she throw me? I look at my pictures, I'm blue-eyed, red-haired, little freckle-faced little baby, and I think I'm cute, right? And so how could you throw me away? Like, what was so wrong with me that you didn't want me? And so I felt like a throwaway, and I always heard that, like, you're a piece of trash is what I always imagined in my mind, that my own mom could throw me away. And so adopted dad died and adopted mom died, and my adopted dad was involved in some drug trafficking stuff in the DFW Fort Worth area. He was moving fresh produce and stuff like that, but he was trafficking drugs from Mexico up to the DFW area. He got in trouble for all that. He was also doing rodeo producing, hauling cattle, and he had a group of cowboys that worked with him that would help him drive the trucks and do all these different things with the cattle. Well, one of the guys that worked for him, there was these girls that would chase those cowboys around, like groupies or whatever. And my mom was one of those girls, right?
Cowboys got groupies?
Yeah, they got groupies, man. You know, I mean, you know.
Not the Dallas Cowboys.
Ghetto boys ain't the only ones that had groupies back then. But yeah, no, they, so my mom was running with these cowboys and she got pregnant. Well, by one of these guys. Anyway, she didn't want to have me, and so I'm kind of getting the story mixed up. After both my adoptive parents died, I had a lady reach out to me on Facebook, and she said, "Shane, I don't know if you know who I am, but she's like, I'm your grandmother. You knew me as Aunt Dorothy growing up, but I'm really your grandmother."
Wow.
And so she's like, out of respect, I made your mom a promise that I would stay away until I had an opportunity or till they were both gone. And so she reached out to me and she asked me if I wanted to come have dinner with her. So I sat down with her and had dinner with her. And she told me, she said, you know, she told me the story about how my mom had me and she was going to have an abortion. And then she went to this women's, like, I don't know what, it's some kind of clinic where basically they take care of the women until they have the baby and then they find a home for the baby. Mm-hmm. They give it up for adoption. I forget, there's a name for it. But then, so my mom, instead of doing that, she realized that Bob and Sandy Jenkins, my adopted parents, wanted to adopt a baby. So she gave me to her friends, Bob and Sandy Jenkins. Well, so my biological grandmother is telling me the story, and she says, well, you know, the last time I saw your mom, now granted, don't forget my adopted dad was in this drug trafficking stuff going on. Well, my grandmother, she says, the last time I saw your mom, she told me that I figured out a way to get Shane back because she wanted to get me back from my adopted family. And she said, she told me that she was going to turn state's evidence. She was going to go testify to the government about what my adopted dad was doing illegally to get me back, to get custody of me back. Well, that very same night that she told my grandmother that, 3 guys that worked for my adopted dad came, picked my mom up, drove her out to Grand Prairie by Dallas, and she shot herself and died. And so she didn't shoot herself. She was murdered by guys that worked for my adopted dad because somehow he had got wind of what she intended to do to betray him or whatever. And so
you don't think your grandmother told him?
She may have. Yeah, she very well might have. Yeah. So my adopted father had my biological mother murdered. And, you know, my grandmother's sitting here telling me this story, and now all of them are dead, right? And I'm like, I can't be mad. I mean, it's crazy to think about it, but I can't be mad at them. And then now I think about, you know, my mom. But so my grandmother went and confronted the police at the scene of the murder or suicide, whatever they were calling it. And she's like, Bob Jenkins had this done to my daughter. You know, this guy had this done to her. And the cops are like, well, if you know that he did this to her, then you need to get the hell out of here because he'll have it done to you too.